Did you get to the bottom of our question?
No,
You're just in the A's Hall of Fame, right? Like that's what we're going to call it, Athletics Hall of Fame.
I don't know if we're ever going to be able to really answer that.
I love
All
it.
I know is I have a green jacket.
That's awesome.
And the media gal who I absolutely love, her name is Deetra. She is phenomenal. She's been there. Actually, her first year was my first year. And she said, all I need you to do is make sure you know where that green jacket is at.
All right, back with another edition of the EC3 pod. The man of the hour. The name of the show is after our guy, Eric Chavez. Chavy, he was in the big leagues for over 17 years. He was a six-time Gold Glover, Silver Slugger winner, member of the Athletics Hall of Fame. He is our guide on this journey inside the EC3 podcast. He is Eric Chavez. The guy to my right is Adam Nelson, the biggest Arizona sports fan that I know, and I am your humble host, Chris Hamblin. Did talk radio for a long time, and we are with you here to talk a little baseball tonight, but more importantly, Chapo, you had a nice little road trip recently, and you got to go check out the Las Vegas A's and their first – this was the first time that they actually have played a regular season game in Vegas. How was that?
Great. Hot.
I'm bad, man.
Just like
it
Arizona.
Looked hot on
it's
TV.
getting hot.
We know how
Palm
hot
Springs
it
is
here.
getting hot. Ooh. Fun trip. The A's, they flew ex-A's, ex-Hall of Fame A's, Las Vegas A's.
Did you get to the bottom of our question?
No,
You're just in the A's Hall of Fame, right? Like that's what we're going to call it, Athletics Hall of Fame.
I don't know if we're ever going to be able to really answer that.
I love
All
it.
I know is I have a green jacket.
That's awesome.
And the media gal who I absolutely love, her name is Deetra. She is phenomenal. She's been there. Actually, her first year was my first year. And she said, all I need you to do is make sure you know where that green jacket is at. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know where it's at.
Yeah, that's one of those things that when you get elected to Hall of Fame and it comes with a jacket, I don't feel like you're losing the jacket. You're hanging it in a special spot.
It's hanging
it's dry
up.
cleaned. It's
Yeah.
ready to go.
I wish I took care of my stuff a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know, my Gold Gloves. And actually the A's broadcast asked me, where are your Gold Gloves and what are they doing? And I was like, they're collecting dust, basically. Two of my boys have one. Ron Washington has one, and then I have the other three. I think at one point I'm going to bring them in here, and we'll set them up.
That's awesome.
What a good trip. The weather was hot. Balls were flying everywhere, and that was kind of the topic of the week, the amount of home runs and runs that were scored.
So when we started watching this, and we're texting about it, and, you know, I like to get a little edge on games from time to time on the old sports betting apps. I'm thinking, like, all right. Yeah. Like, I'm like,
what did you see?
What is going to happen? Like, is the over-under 100% going to be an over here? And how did we whiff on that? Because I think they scared people away. In my opinion, the first one was like, oh, man, 15, this seems like a lot. And then after the first game, you're like, oh, this is not enough. These are football scores.
Well, yeah. So when I looked, I think the first game was like 9.5. And then when all those homers were hit and runs were scored, they took it up to 13.5 right away.
Like, it was too late at that point.
And I don't even think that was high enough. But I went in the clubhouse and I met with the manager, Katse, and I said, man, this is going to be a really tough week for you. Like the pitching, managing the bullpen. You know, it's Colorado, but even worse.
Yeah.
So it wasn't real baseball. You know, the real stadium was being built.
How did it look?
Great. I mean, it's the
frame,
pictures
I've seen
it's
online,
getting there.
it looks sick,
It's real. You can see it.
Did you do a walkthrough? Or
No. I had an opportunity to do it. I did some other things. You know, the A's are really building that relationship with Vegas. I saw signs of A's everywhere. The fans were. I did autograph session with Jose Canseco.
Nice.
With Jason Giambi. They're just building that relationship up, and you could tell the excitement of it is really building. Like I was super excited to be there.
Well, you look at the sports that have gone there, right? So the NFL, huge there. I mean, NFL's big in general, but Vegas embraced it. The Golden Knights are unreal. And think about like when you take a situation like that, you're relocating a team or you get an expansion team. You know, the Raiders probably aren't the best example of this, but the Golden Knights as an expansion team, dude, they won right away.
First year.
And so you could tell those types of towns, Vegas is a great example. They've wanted pro sports, but the fact that the way they came out and supported the Golden Knights when they came, like they wanted a winner. Like these people are starved for it.
Yeah.
And I just think about how you go on a guy's trip to Vegas. March Madness is always around the time of opening day. Anytime you're out, I'm always looking for things to do other than be at the tables to kill a couple hours. And with the pitch clock in baseball, now it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. Get tickets to a ball game one night.
For sure.
And then like have a dinner set up after it. Like baseball and Vegas to me are married perfectly with the way that they've changed how the game is now.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be 3.5 hours. It's like going to a show essentially, except the Dodgers could be in town, or you could see Mike Trout, or you name any superstar, Aaron Judge. You're like, oh, yeah, we played some cards, went to the pool, went to an A's game, watched the A's, watched X star, and then after that, we went to dinner. I mean, it's like a perfect.
But not only
layout.
that, like the weather and the temperature in the summer in Vegas, like the AAA stadium is outside. Like I think the game on Sunday that they played was 108.
Crazy.
And it's just like it's going to be, obviously the new stadium's going to come with the dome. And I think it's a proven thing that too, like there has to be other entertainment things, a pool, they had a pool in the AAA, like the Diamondback Stadium. You need a couple bars for the younger people to kind of enjoy.
Yeah.
And then some stuff for the kids or whatever. But, the people in Vegas, like, yeah, things have to be indoor. And this is just going to create a jewel for those people to enjoy. Now, capitalizing, it's kind of weird timing, right? Because they're going to be there in 28 with the collective bargaining agreement next year. Who kind of knows what's going to happen, and the A's are going to be in Sacramento, next year as well. So, the timing of this, like they have good young players. Like if they could capitalize the way the hockey team did, and the way the hockey team constructed their team and took from other teams and had a winner that is unbelievable. Yeah, it's really cool. I think they should do a Netflix series on how, behind the scenes, imagine that, like which players they want to take. But if the A's can capitalize and build momentum, a good core young guys like Nick Kurtz, like, oh my, this guy he is unbelievable. Yeah. Huge fan. But they have Soderstrom, they have other players that are really good. But if they could build a contending team and get that excitement right away, that's something that can propel you for the next 5 to 10 years and just get that city behind you.
Awesome. So we've got a lot to get into tonight. We're going to start as we kind of reach this dog days of summer portion. I know, you talk about, we're based in Arizona, right? We're in Phoenix, so it's hot. We know it's hot here, but everybody else is kind of getting to that stretch of the summer where the finals are over, hockey's over, football's not at training camp yet. So now the focus is on baseball. And one of those things that happens this time of year with baseball is the trade deadline. So I want to get into some buy and sell on teams that you think need to be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline. But before we do that, I'd be remiss to not get your thoughts on, what it's like in the clubhouse as the rumor mill starts to drip, dependent upon the type of team that you're on, depending upon the type of where you're at in your contract situation. So when you think of the trade deadline and you think of this time of year, what comes to mind for you as memories of when you were playing, when you were in the front office, and then when you were a bench coach? Like, what does it look like right now in a clubhouse and a day-to-day as we get closer to the trade deadline?
Yeah, to me, I think it's very exciting. And I think a lot of teams this year, they have an opportunity to kind of make a splash and do something. And, obviously the Dodgers they're the best team in baseball. Like everybody's chasing them. But there's a lot of teams that are really close, and there's 3 wildcard teams, and a lot of the teams are going to be vying for those spots. But it could be, if your name's thrown around, it could be a little tense, right? And the media has speculation. I think the good teams do a really good job of concealing their hand, right? And especially if you've got a player that you possibly could move and get some pieces and, pieces to move for the future, but also to get you in this playoff run. And the last thing you want to do is a disgruntled player. And it's hard as a player. I've been around some players that were they come to the field for at least 2.5 weeks, and they don't know if they're going to be traded. They don't know if they're playing. And that's an extremely hard position to be. And that's where the human element of the player comes in. That's not an easy thing to not know where your family's going to be in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and I think that the teams that handle it the best, and tell me where you're at on this, have to have a front office that understands, we talked about managers' roles, right? Here's a manager's role. He's the guy that's putting the lineups out and trying to manage all that stuff. But a front office perspective on this is, you're either all in on what you've been building or you're like, hey, this isn't our year. But the ability to connect the dots to know, listen, these are human beings down here. These are guys that are part of the organization, but also get the job done so that you're having calls and negotiating with people and people you trust that aren't going to be out there saying, oh, yeah, we've got a deal for Rooker right now. I think we are going to give up this and this, or it's cash considerations. Like, what does a good front office look like in handling that noise around the trade deadline when the players that aren't oblivious to the fact that if I'm in the last year of my deal and I've been playing well and the team's out of it, I could be on the block?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this, the media has speculation of players that could be on the move for financial reasons, like Skubal in Detroit. Detroit's not putting it out there. It's just kind of what.
Well, you just know, right?
You just kind of know, right? And so he's a pro. He's going to go about his business. But yeah, I mean, teams have to figure out where they're at, and I think we're going to break down some of the teams and why the situations that they're in. Sometimes do you go big? Do you go for it? Do you hold pat? And we're going to break down a little bit of why certain teams are in certain situations. But the Yankees, the Cubs, these teams, like, they go for it every single year. And there's other teams like the Angels that, I know Artie likes to have good players and he never wants to rebuild there. But if you kind of look at their situation, it's like it's time to move on, right? It's time to take a Mike Trout, and he just got hurt the other day, which we found out, which is a big bummer because we wanted to see him in the All-Star Game and all this stuff, and he's really good for baseball. But there's certain teams that you got to do an evaluation of the players that are coming, the players you could move, the contracts, the bargaining agreement. There's a lot of things to kind of digest here.
And I think like the Angels and how they don't learn from their lesson, because they botched the Shohei thing. Like, they could have gotten so much for Shohei.
A huge package.
And they just let him walk.
Yeah, and they could be competitive right now.
Yeah. And they botched that. And it's like, I know Trout's not in the same situation because his contract goes to like 2030, but like still, it's like you could capitalize on Trout right now and rebuild your organization from that one guy. Yeah,
for sure. And there's teams like that handle it really well. And I remember when we had Max Scherzer with the Mets and we were out of it, and the teams went to Max, and they were completely honest with him, right? 98% of the players that are talked about, and first of all, every team needs to entertain everything.
Oh, 100%.
Every player needs to be available, right? And if a team calls, hear them out. You have to do that. You've got to do that due diligence and say, right, because, of course you want to be competitive. You want to make the playoffs, but you want to be competitive for the years to come too. So it's a very delicate balance and dance. And the good ones are able to keep their players happy, keep the fans happy, and but that's a very tough thing to do.
So you said something there that I think is incredibly important, right? And Adam, your perspective on this as a fan, I think is crucial because with the Diamondbacks, it specifically, there have been instances where Marte's name has come up and the trade rumors, and it feels like
almost every year, right?
Every year. And if Vitello goes out there and tries to say, hey, here's the reason that we're looking at this, and the fans lose their freaking mind.
Lovello.
Yeah. The fans lose their mind.
Correct.
But what you just said goes to the point of the bigger picture of what's trying to be accomplished, and it's a little tougher since they're within striking distance of a wild card. But, I mean, that to me is what drives it. Social media drives it now. The fans drive it. So to be a buttoned-up front office or to know, and I even think there's a part of this that, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but as a player, you're in the business, right? If your name's out there, it's going to suck, but it's like, be tougher.
Yeah.
Like, understand, mentally tough. It's not
an easy thing to say.
But at the same time, you're like, and that's where I think the fans fall in this. That's right. They're like, hey, why are you trying to protect the guy? This is part of the business. And they don't look at it and say, well, yeah, I've just bought a house or my kids are going to school here. If I get traded, we got to take them to a different school.
Yeah.
But I think it's just easy to fall into that where, somebody's not on the table. I'll tell you that Bobby Witt Jr., they're not going to trade him.
No.
But if somebody called and offered you the world for him,
100%.
You'd be crazy not to listen about it. So it makes me feel good to hear you say that.
You'd have to entertain it.
Well, and I think for a fan, you fall in love with a player too. But as for a fan's thing of saying like, yes, it's hard to get through. I think if I'm a player, and I could be totally wrong on this, but I would be like, if I'm Ketel Marte and they're talking about trading me, it's not because I'm doing bad. It's because they can get a lot for me.
Right. And you got to think about this too. Like, somebody else wants me.
That's
right?
exactly what I'm trying to say.
So this is, I'm going to take this back to this offseason when the Mets traded Brandon Nimmo, right? Fans love him. Brandon, spring training, has homes in spring training. New York, everything, just built a home in New York and everything. And Brandon got to the point where, he's one of those guys where he deserves a phone call, a discussion. This is what we're thinking about doing. How do you feel about this? Are you open to this? Because he's got a full no trade. This would be the same situation with Mike Trout. And Brandon was like, listen, I don't really feel wanted here anymore. Even though I have a no trade, I have homes, my family, I just had a kid. Everything is stable here where I'm at. It's so easy for him to say, I'm going to squash this, right? But you also want to go where you're wanted.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And Texas really, really wanted him. And when he had conversations with Texas, they made him felt like he was really wanted. And so just as a human being and a person, you're like, listen, I know I have a no trade, I have power, and you deserve that when you sign that contract. But you also just want to be where you're wanted.
Love it. Let's take a look at some of these teams. You mentioned it, right? So buyers, sellers, just stay the course. That's the three options, the three buckets you can put these teams into.
You want to go American League or National League?
Let's start. I'm going to bounce back and forth.
Okay.
All right. So let's start in the American League.
Okay.
Kind of the surprise team of the season, Chicago White Sox.
Yeah. This is okay. This is the delicate. Okay. They're tied for the lead with the Guardians, or half game, whatever it is. Like, they're right in the mix of things, playing tremendous. Probably a year ahead.
That's what I was going to say.
A year ahead of what they projected. And it's a fun story, and it's great. They have a bunch of good young players, and I'm excited. I like, there's certain teams you turn on TV, and you're like, you have all the games, and you go, oh, okay, I want to watch the Yankees. I want to watch the Dodgers.
You did that tonight.
Now I said I want to watch the White Sox.
That's what
right?
you said tonight.
They're a fun team. And the way I look at it is, they're not in a position to really, they have young kids too in their system, right? You don't really want to get rid of that, right? Because it's a great story. You have to take the emotion out of it. And even though fans fall in love with players, as a front office, you cannot fall in love with a player.
It's got to be hard to do.
As good as people they are,
Yeah.
Like Nimmo was the salt of the earth, Pete Alonso, salt of the earth type of person. You cannot fall in love with these players from the front office point, right? And you've got to do what's right for the organization, but also understand, like, you got to respect the player and what they've done for the city, and stuff like that. So the White Sox are in a position for me to stay pat.
I agree.
Right. Let them continue to do this Cinderella run. Is it real? It's too early to tell. We're literally 9 games from the halfway point. I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
Is it real? I don't know. Yeah, of course the fans are like, let's go.
Is it almost like they're playing with house money, and let them, even if they make the playoffs, let them get some experience in the next season if they're in the same position? Then you're like,
there's such a learning curve to winning, and I think we, even at the beginning when we started these podcasts, we talked about Toronto and how I said it's going to be very difficult to repeat what they did last year, and you kind of see them kind of struggling through this year to repeat what they did last year. Once you get on the radar of other teams, and now you're, they pencil in the Toronto Blue Jays.
For sure.
Now, you snuck up on people for a full year. The White Sox are sneaking up on. I'm not saying it's not real.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we don't know yet. And you're ahead of schedule of where you felt like your team could be competitive. You don't do something irrational and try to get rid of, you sell a couple prospects off to get a guy, and your team probably isn't the real deal. But I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying you don't know.
But that guy's not the difference maker right now. Like, that guy doesn't guarantee.
I think the
him a
White Sox
championship.
need to stand pat.
Okay, White Sox are standing pat. What about the Giants?
Sell.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So that is exactly what everybody else is saying.
Yeah.
But what do you think the ROI or the return on that is for them? Is it a dangerous move just to say sell, or are they so committed to what they're doing with the manager, with everybody else in place, that they're like, yeah, these players, just run them, restart it, get prospects?
Yeah, the manager's staying pat. Like, that's something that Buster committed to. We discussed that, whether that was the right move or not. It's irrelevant. He's there. He's the manager. You've kind of committed to it. And once you commit to a move like that, you have to see that through. But they have certain players, a Chapman, a Devers, that could, I don't know.
The Giants.
Arias. Yes, Arias, exactly. You got to see what you can get, right? Like they're in a bad division, the Padres, the Diamondbacks. They're chasing the Dodgers. They're not doing anything. So you have to do the best thing for that organ. You have to move forward and not be emotional about it. Get what you can get back. I don't know what packages you can get back, but there's certainly some players that they can acquire to make a move for the future.
Awesome. All right, next up, what about the Chicago Cubs? What should they be doing right now?
The Chicago Cubs, they are in a market where they have to go for it, right? They've committed to Bregman and their salary cap is up there. They're playing well. What are they? A couple games over 500. The Brewers they're going to win that division, and they're fighting for a wild card spot.
They're in the same spot as like the Padres or Diamondbacks.
Correct. 100%. But being in a big market and all the money that they bring in, they got to make a move to go get a pitcher and a position player to kind of make a run for the rest of the summer.
You mentioned the Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy is this? The Brewers trade for Skubal.
Yeah. You know what? And this would be very similar to the CC Sabathia.
I was just going to say that.
It'd be very, very similar, right? And there's, the Giants, the Cubs, there's always a few teams that kind of come out of the woodworks, and the Brewers would be one of those teams. And I talked to a couple of the Brewers. The Brewers were playing the A's in Vegas, and I talked to a couple of the Brewers over there, and they feel like they're just as good as anybody. Now, they need a move, for a pitcher, a bullpen arm, and a possible another big bat. And if they add that to their lineup, because they do, like we talked about this, they do everything well, right? They bunt, they hit and run, they put the ball in play, they field, they check all the boxes. They could just add on to what they're doing extremely well and make them a real formidable challenge to the Dodgers. Like, they're that good.
If they added Skubal, yes, but do you think they add him and then he's just gone after?
Probably.
Yeah, no,
probably.
it's 100%.
See, that's what, as a fan, I wouldn't want that. Like, if you're going to trade a guy just to lose him, you're going to mortgage the future for just that. Like, that's not, for me as a fan, I don't like that.
Well, it's like I said, it's the same thing they did with CC.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing.
But they didn't get him anything. I mean, they got him a playoff.
I'm just saying, like, they have all the ingredients of a playoff team.
Yeah.
And to make a really deep run, this is a team that you go for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're in position to do it.
Think
go
about
for
this rotation in a 5-game series. You
Yes.
start Skubal, or you start Mizorowski, you've got Skubal, and you've got Harrison.
Yep.
And those are their 3 starters. And they're going up. I mean, to me, like, that's an interesting one. I hadn't thought about that one. And I'm like, wait a second. They could make and their farm system is deep.
Very
right?
deep.
So they have a lot of components
Yes.
that teams would like. So if they had to give up, a top 25 prospect or someone in that top 50 range to make a run to win a World Series, I love it.
Now, and if you think about this, for the long run, right, like Skubal and the injury, and he just came back, and, who knows how that's going to shake out. Like, it's and we talked about this, like, when you sign a pitcher, if you sign him for 5 years, you're going to lose him for 2.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. You're kind of hoping that he stays healthy for the rest of the year and he gives you everything he's got. And then at some point they lose him to free agency, and then they'll get a top draft pick. And so there's a lot of rewards from just bringing him in for 1 year as well.
What do you think the Mariners are looking at right now?
A hitter, like always.
Because
they have plenty of
out,
pitching.
He hasn't been playing well, hadn't been hitting the ball, hasn't been driving in runs, hasn't been hitting for power.
Yeah, and they're leading the division.
Yeah,
but
their pitching is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So if they could just add a bat and kind of catch some momentum, and some of the hitters, Raleigh comes back, and hopefully he finds form.
Yeah.
You add a big bat to that, a Devers or something like that. Like, you could be pretty formidable.
What about the Padres?
Ooh, man, it's tough because they have so much money committed to the players they have there now.
And they have like 8 shortstops.
Huh?
They have like 8 shortstops.
They have 8 shortstops. The current ownership that they're switched, how committed are they and how much more are they willing to put on the books? I don't know. They're kind of in a really, really tough situation. They're battling with the Diamondbacks. They're not going to catch the Dodgers, so you're looking at a wild card spot. I think their chances are pretty good they're going to catch that. Some of their Machado's been struggling. Tatis has struggled. Merrill has struggled. and I talked about this before. The chances of them struggling for the whole year is very, very unlikely. So I would like to see Machado come back with a strong second half. Merrill, definitely. Merrill, for me, is the key to that whole team. If he puts up the type of numbers that he did last year, and he can kind of be that force in the middle of the lineup, they got a real good chance.
Pitching-wise is the most fascinating piece of these deals. And I think that what gets lost in this is we're looking at teams out there right now that have gaps, right? And the bullpen for a lot of teams is like, hey, we've got a great closer. We don't have a high leverage guy. Mm-hmm. We have some good long relievers. We need somebody who's a stopgap. Are there any names out there that you think are going to be available on the market to try to plug into some of these teams from like reliever-wise that could make a difference and an impact? Even a closer, for instance, right? What do you think the market looks like there?
Yeah, I think Aroldis Chapman is going to be the biggest one, right? I think Boston kind of understands. I know they would like to think that, we feel pretty good that we can make a run. I don't really feel that way. It's just been too much turmoil. Things aren't just working as smoothly as I thought they would work for them. But Chapman could be somebody that a team adds. And, man, you put him with a Diaz or, another closer, man, that is a pretty special arm, right? And he's been durable. He's been healthy, and he's throwing harder now than he did when, he was a little bit younger, which is pretty amazing. So to me, he's the one arm in the bullpen that could really, really help somebody.
He always seems to be the guy too around the trade deadline. That's like
his name.
His is the missing piece, and he did it for the Royals. Didn't he do it for the Royals a few years ago where he came in and he just killed it for him?
Yeah, no, they've been. That's my blueprint, right? Like that's what I'm most familiar with.
And there's also sneaky names. Like the thing about the bullpen is there's always guys like that kind of pop up out of nowhere, and the bullpen arms are really people and names that we don't really pay attention to, right? But if you break down the numbers and if you're a front office, you can kind of go, okay, you look at some of these numbers and maybe, nothing is really popping out. But this is where analytics comes in. You kind of look between, maybe he's pitching on a defense that's not that good. The outfield is a little slow, whatever it is.
He's pitching in Las Vegas.
Whatever. Exactly, right? Like you pitch in Colorado, right? Those guys, they get on look because they have 6 ERA.
Yeah.
But hold on the road, he's got a 2 ERA, right? So that's where you, as a front office, you really got to do your homework. But to me, Chapman's the big name that can go out there and solidify a bullpen.
That makes sense. I remember Johnny Cueto was the move. The Royals made a move for Johnny Cueto the year that they won the World Series. And when they went all in for a guy like that, who was like a contract situation, trying to do that, you look for names like that are popping out, and you look at a team that is searching for something that they haven't won in a very, very long time, like the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
We talked about Scooble to the Brewers maybe.
Yeah.
But you have to think that with as well as the Yankees have played this year, as good as their offense is, they've got to be another one of those teams that looks at Scooble and says, yeah, not only will I move some pieces for you, I'll pay you too.
Right. And those, Boston, the Yankees, the Dodgers, they're always going to be players, but Texas will do it every once in a while. They'll just pop out of nowhere and be like, oh, geez, like they just made that move. Like, holy cow. But yeah, Chapman he's not going back to the Yankees, by the way. Like there's some bad blood.
I don't think
bad blood there.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yes. This is totally, we didn't talk about this, but sidebar on the CBA and the impact to this trade deadline specifically with what's coming.
Yeah.
As a front office looking and, like things could change, but I could get a guy who's on a longer contract that probably won't match with what's potentially coming out there, and he's on year 2, the team's in the dumps. Like, is that happening right now behind the scenes? Do you think that's real?
You have to operate as if nothing's going to happen. Like,
yeah.
It's not even a factor. Like, you got to do what's right for you at this moment. Nobody can predict what's going to happen with the CBA, right? We all have feelings about it. We feel like everybody's off and the Players Association is off. But you have to operate as if there's going to be baseball and you've got to do the right thing by your organization.
Awesome. I have a quick question for, as a player, when you were in it, like with Oakland at the deadline, and you're like, man, we're missing this piece.
Yeah. It's deflating when you feel that way and you don't get a piece.
Yeah.
I've been in that situation too. And there was a situation in Oakland, right? We had Jermaine Dye on, and we had a big signing with Jermaine, and I was the adrenaline that you get as a team, like you're kind of in it, and the Padres or whatever, like Diamondbacks. Imagine Diamondbacks get a Byron Buxton, or whatever. I'm just saying, like the injection of energy that you get is unbelievable. Now, on the other side, if you don't do anything, like the White Sox, if they don't do anything, like nobody's gonna like they're a surprise team and they're fun. Like nobody in that clubhouse is really going, this is the first time they've gone through this. Like they don't know. They're having fun, and they're tied for first place with the Guardians, and
like the Padres.
But the Padres have that. There's history there, right?
And they're like this is the
we
fourth
need this.
year of this core, and they're not going to do anything.
But as a player, and a move doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that they didn't try either, right? The good teams hide it from their players. They hide it from the media. You never know what the closed door conversations are happening. And if it doesn't happen, you still have to back the front office up. Like,
do they come in after the deadline and say, "Hey, we tried, we couldn't find a deal that worked for us"?
Well, I meant,
or did they owe that to the
good
players?
ones don't have to say anything.
Okay,
you don't say you just sometimes like nothing. Silence is golden.
Yeah,
right. And like I said, none of us really know the real. I was brought up in some trade conversations that nobody ever talked about, and Billy Beane was like, "Yeah, teams that called and we entertained them, but
Did they tell you what teams there were?
No, Yankees actually.
Really?
Yeah, Yankees were one of them. But he said there was about 7 teams, and he entertained them. Like you've got to do that.
Is there any place that out of those 7 teams, and we can look back on it now, you would be like, "Damn, I don't want to go play there." Was there one spot where you're like, that's not good?
Honestly, it never even crossed my mind. Like when I was playing with Oakland, I felt like I was going to end my career there. It never even crossed my mind. Like I never even saw my name up in trade rumors or anything.
Did you ever read the paper or watch
all
Sports
the time?
Center?
Players,
okay,
players
you did
read everything. Oh yeah. Players read like back in the day. Like you used to get like a pamphlet of information.
Oh, the cutouts, the clips.
You remember
the clips. Yeah. Oh my God! So you guys had those.
Everybody. Yeah,
Adam, these clips are crazy, right? So there's a media person that clips it out. Everything written across the country, and this is on like the number of copier machines that were in that office that were running constantly to make the packets of clips for the GM, the coach, the players, the managers, like to see it's crazy. And the fact that you got your hands on them, they were just in the clubhouse.
Everywhere. There were those stacks of them on the tables and everything.
See what the columnist was writing about the team and be like, this smug prick.
Oh yeah,
I can't believe he's taking these shots. He doesn't know anything.
Absolutely,
he doesn't know anything.
Absolutely, and sometimes they were right.
Which is the craziest part, right? So I've been part of stuff where you have a relationship with somebody and they're like, "Hey, this is off the record. Don't use my name, but you can go with it on the air." Or you could, it's leaked through 3 people, you verify it, and you're like, "Shit, I can't believe so-and-so was doing so-and-so, and they got in a fight because they lost after the game." And so you can just say there's some dissension in the clubhouse, but some of that stuff that got out there was accurate, and then they'd go to the microphones or they'd come out and be like, "This is completely bogus. So-and-so did not punch so-and-so in the face after our 12th loss in a row." And it's just like, so damn, that's awesome that you were seeing that stuff and that you read it and you were able to compartmentalize it, because some guys can't.
Yeah.
Some guys can't compartmentalize that.
Yeah, man, you're a human being. Like, you want to be wanted, and if you see your name in trade rumors, you feel like you're not wanted. But then you have to understand on the other side, there are other teams that really want you too. So, was
there ever someone that you were on a roster that got traded to your team and they sucked? They're like a bad guy, or they didn't gel in the clubhouse, and you're like, "Man, this was not the right addition."
No, I don't really feel like that. Like anytime you do make a move, you're like, okay, they did something. Now, sometimes there were moves that were made that you just made a move to make it appear. This is a very under the radar move. And you're like, well, why did we do that? Did we really make ourselves better, or did we just make a move to make a move? And I think as a player, you kind of understand that. But most of the time when you do make a trade for a player, you see the positive side of it, and it's new. You're getting a shiny new toy.
So no one ever came in and was like,
disruptive,
killed the vibe?
Disruptive?
Yeah.
No. Never that I can remember now that ever happened.
That's good, because I think in the real world, that happens.
Well,
and like you're in an office and somebody comes into your office, you're like, this guy stinks.
Well, also
like,
give it time.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody, when they go to a new place, they're on their best behavior.
For sure.
And if you have a history of bad behavior or not being a good teammate, eventually you're going to show who you are. It just maybe might take a little bit of time.
An example, and again, I don't know him, but like the Devers trade last year he kind of came off as an asshole in Boston, got traded to the Giants. Giants were doing well, and then all of a sudden they started to tank last year after the trade, and you're like, is that a vibe killer? Was he killing the vibe in the dugout on both teams? And that's why the Red Sox were so easy to get rid of him too?
Well, I mean, that's unless you're behind those closed doors, it's really I don't have inside information on that.
I'm just saying, like for me, that's what that looked like.
To me, and this goes back to your point, right? You have to be a professional. You got to be strong-minded. I think that situation ate him up. I think he felt like he was going to be a Boston Red Sox. He was going to be the next David Ortiz in that organization and take him to the playoffs and World Series and all this stuff, and it didn't happen. And so I think emotionally, but then again, it's like, it's so easy to say, well, just be a professional, dude. You're making $30 million, but it's not always that easy.
Yeah. All right, so let's shift gears because after the trade deadline, our trade deadline's approaching, but so is the All-Star Game. And I have always felt like this, and Adam sent us this awesome graphic this week that basically breaks down the teams and the current number of All-Stars that are on their roster. And I love conspiracy theories. I'm a big fan of that. I don't know how well it plays with the All-Star Game, but I do feel like in every professional sport, in this time, the All-Star Game has become somewhat of a popularity contest over a production contest.
Yeah.
And baseball, out of all the teams or out of all the sports, has said, hey, you have to have one from everybody. And that's a nice touch. So that way, if your team's terrible, you got one guy that goes. But a lot of times, those guys that go that you have to select probably are borderline even worthy being an all-star.
Yeah.
What's your take? Like, what do you think about it? I've always thought it's a popularity contest. But where do you fall on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. And, part of me says it's warranted, right? Because, the more when I was a player, like I knew what the fans mean, but as I've gotten away from the game and, gotten older, now I realize how important the fans are. And, being an entertainment business and making sure fans are happy. I understand it. Now, it hits home with me a little bit because I never made an all-star team. And there's probably 3 years where I felt like I should have been on an all-star team. But I also never played the game to be recognized. And maybe I should have been a little bit more selfish in the way I went about it and how I felt about myself. I enjoyed the all-star break. I was not very good pre-all-star break. Post-all-star break, my numbers were extremely good. And there were teams, where managers, they got to select a player, and I'm not going to name names or whoever. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but they selected their own player, and I had better numbers than they did. And so that, at the time, it was bothersome, but I also enjoyed my All-Star break. I enjoyed those 3 days because what it did for me to energize me and propel me into the second half and in the playoffs, it was really helpful for me in my mental health.
Well, right there, you just pointed out the biggest flaw in the All-Star Game. It's a first half thing. It's not a full season thing, right?
Yep.
So it's so it should just be a popularity contest. And the fact that I'm okay with it being a popularity contest, but what I wasn't okay with was when it meant something, when it meant home field in the World Series.
Correct.
It's it shouldn't be a popularity contest and mean something.
It's a double standard.
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree with you on that.
So as much as it's back to being not meaning anything now, it's, I still think the guys take it serious when they're playing. It's probably the best all-star game out of the
I think all of us just want to understand what is this, right? Is it the best players that are performing in the first half? Is it a popularity? We just want to put a name on it. And I think if we're okay and we're open about it and it is what it is, Clayton Kershaw being an honorary all-star member chosen by the commissioner, you can kind of understand some of those things. Like I said, because the fans want to see it and he means a lot to the game. And I totally get it. But,
I mean, you probably didn't go because Cal Ripken
Well, there's a whole other list of guys that,
I'm just saying he got the Legacy Award a few times. Too.
Yeah, and I was, like I said, I was fine with it. Like I dealt with it as a professional.
Yeah.
I was mentally strong, and I knew what it did for me physically and mentally to propel me in the second half.
Awesome. All right, let's get to the hot corner. 3 quick questions for Chavy. All right, you mentioned the
I don't
All-Star
like
break.
when you don't like. I don't know what these questions are.
I know. I love
feel
it though.
cornered, dude.
I love
Yeah,
it.
that's what's we don't tell Chavy what the question.
I don't like
is.
this.
The first episode, I think we just laid it on you. We were like, "Hey, I'm just going to throw." You didn't know it was coming,
Right?
You didn't know it was coming,
right?
So you mentioned the All-Star break that you really liked it.
Yeah.
Was there one vacation or trip in your career that stands out during the All-Star break that you took? You're like, that was badass, or that was my favorite one. It really helped me to reset. Is there the most memorable All-Star break trip you had?
No. So for me, it wasn't like, I was going to take a private jet to Hawaii or Cabo. I needed a small break. Being in Oakland, Tahoe was always kind of the closest spot.
Yeah.
It was a 2.5, 3 hour drive, if I remember. Just 3 days, a couple days of golf.
Edgewood.
Edgewood. R&R, get on the lake a little bit. Very underneath the radar. It wasn't like I was partying or anything.
Did any of your teammates go a completely different direction than what you did? Like go to Vegas?
I'm not sure. Like no, I don't think, I don't think guys take, they don't go to Vegas and like blow it out. It's more of just a reset.
Yeah.
And you just really value, like, we don't get days off during the season. You really value a day off. And so for me, those 3 days off like meant so much to me. I wasn't just going to go, cause havoc for 3 days in Vegas and not understand where I was at for 3 days and then try to come back and hit a baseball.
Yeah,
like I was mentally and physically on break, but I was always thinking about, man, I gotta play catch today. I gotta take a couple swings. I've always got to do something to make sure by the time you come back, like, you're still in the groove of things.
Yeah, that's solid. All right, number 2, hot corner question for Chavy. College World Series has been going on.
Mm-hmm.
You never played college baseball.
No.
When you watch that, do you say, damn, that looked like it could have been fun? Or you're like, I did it the way I should have
Well,
done it?
I meant, yeah, I knew it would have been fun, So, I signed on to go to USC. My best friend that I grew up with since I was 5, Eric Munson, we moved into the dorms. I ended up signing with the A's the very last minute before school. They went on to the World Series. I think they won the World Series once. They went twice. I know that if I would have went there, like, we probably would have won 3.
Yeah.
I'm not like, it's just they had a really good team. And then if I was added to that, like, it would have been a real, really fun run. But, in the off season, I got to spend a lot of time with Eric and the SC boys, and I spent a lot of time in the off season with them. So I got to be a part of it, but I don't question it. Every decision,
Sure.
that I made back then was it worked out.
You couldn't get paid to play college.
It worked
back
out.
then.
Now you would be
Yeah.
NIL.
That
So
would
you'd
be-
be
well,
like,
Well, I'm actually, I deal with that with my younger son, and he's going to be a junior next year in Scottsdale, and I'm like, so what would you do? What if you signed in the 7th round for some team, but then you have this college team that offers you $750 or $1 million? Like, what would you do?
Yeah.
Right. And it's good that he has that even as an opportunity to think about.
that's awesome. Okay. Hot corner question number 3.
Why are you laughing? That makes me nervous.
This makes you nervous?
Yeah.
No, so I learned something new about you today.
Okay.
I wasn't quite sure. We had lunch. Didn't learn it there.
I thought I've been an open book.
You
like
have
the
been
whole-
an
okay,
open book.
Okay.
So, we love to play golf. Big golf guys. Would you prefer a brand new club or a used club?
Oh,
when you're shopping for
very
golf
good.
clubs, because this is something that I didn't know about you.
Well done. Every time that I've gotten fitted for golf clubs, a set of golf clubs, they're awful. Right? The swing speed, all this stuff. Every time I've pulled clubs or a set off the rack, and they're just regular clubs, like, I don't need my swing speed, my spin rate, all this stuff. Like,
For those of you that have never seen Eric swing a golf club outside, and if you want to see it, it's in a coming episode. We'll have it. The dude swings the hell out of the golf club. Like, it makes speed, right? So one would assume that going to a professional golf club fitter, saying, yeah, like you need this, you've done it, but you just prefer, maybe a second swing.
So, okay, I'll even tell you a story about baseball, and this ties in. So I was struggling really bad one time, and it was when I was in Oakland. It was probably, I lived in San Ramon. It was like a 45-minute drive, and that's a long time to ponder, like you're in a slump, right? Yankees are in town, and I decide to, I don't even know why I did this. I stopped in a Sports Authority and grabbed 2 bats off of the rack, Pro Stock, right? And actually, I remember this. The reason I said this was like I used to be able to hit in the minors with Pro Stock and played really well. Why can't I do this again? And this is how mental and deranged I was as a player. Yeah. I literally 1:30 stopped at Sports Authority. I grabbed 2 bats off the rack. My first at bat, I hit a missile to center field. I think it's going. It's gone. And the ball just dies at the track because the wood is so bad.
I'm like, I'm sure the sponsors.
You're like, oh,
it was
man,
so bad.
I squared this up and it just went nowhere.
But yeah, in the middle of a season against the Yankees, I decided to stop at Sports Authority and grab a Pro Stock. That's me mentally. Like that's where I'm at. So is it that odd that I would grab a used golf club?
No,
and
purchase it. That makes you better in my book.
I just appreciate it. You're one of us. A guy with 6 gold gloves that, yes, made a bunch of dough in the big leagues is just like us in the golf club bed, looking for the right shaft and the right, is this thing mint or is it, maybe a ding on the head? No, this is fine. I'll take. I love the grip on this driver. Is what Chavy said to me today.
That's right.
This grip is great.
When it feels right, it feels right. When it feels right, it feels right.
Is it left-handed grip though? Is it left-handed?
He loves the left-handed grips.
I got one more question for Chav before we go.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the All-Star. Could you have won a home run derby?
They actually one year they invited me to do it, and I didn't make the All-Star team. And I was like, the only way I would do it is if I was on the All-Star team. Right. And then that's when the manager chose his own player, and I went to Tahoe.
Tahoe's a great
I would choose Tahoe, too. Like, I love Tahoe.
Choosing Tahoe. That is the EC3 podcast. We'll catch you next time. Don't forget, you can like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be back at you soon with another episode of the EC3 Pod.